Don't freeze your ratings because you let your product thaw out. I'm Brian, Instacart Bulldog, back with more tips for bigger tips and better ratings. Let's hit it. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you again for all the new subscribers. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I invite you to hang around and watch a few others back on this channel, because I think a lot of this will help you to be a much better Instacart shopper, or whatever other platform you might happen to be working on. Well, it's a miserable 46-degree rainy day here in Pensacola, Florida. It's winter time, it's January, and we get these little cold snaps. You go from warm to cold, and it's a big seesaw in temperatures. But this week, it's just going to be flat line, high in the 50s, lows in the 30s and 40s. We've even had a couple of days flirting with freezing. So, yeah, for around here, that's kind of rough. But hey, I don't have to shovel it. This time of year, you're probably not getting a lot of requests for bags of ice in your orders. And that's fine, but once in the blue moon, it's going to pop up, and you're going to have a lot of it right around any kind of a holiday time or all summer long. I live here on Florida's Gulf Coast, and we pretty much do ice, heavily in the summertime. But even this time of year, I get some large orders once in the blue moon. But that doesn't mean you should never be prepared for it, and now's the good time to start practicing for the summer. So many of you think that buying a bag of ice involves going to the grocery store, going to checkout, and leaving. I wish it were quite so simple, because in the life of an Instacart shopper, it can turn into a mess real fast. And that can result in low ratings. But that's why I'm here, because I share with you things that have worked well for me. Handling sensitive items like ice cream and ice involves a little bit of skill. It's not something you have to overthink, but it is something that you have to think about. Maybe it's a single order batch, or a double, or God forbid, a triple. But how you handle that bag of ice can mean a big difference to your future earnings. Let's just think about it for a moment as to what goes into selecting a bag of ice and getting it to the customer, and how much time is in between all of that. When you're shopping any order, ice cream and ice should always be the last items that you pick up before heading to checkout. Sometimes selecting the right bag of ice will make a difference into the condition that it reaches your customer. But the most important thing about how that ice reaches your customer is what you transport it in. If you've been watching my videos from the very beginning, you know that I have a very strong preference for using my hard-sided coolers, my Igloo Max coolers, which I put a little bit of money into when I started this gig almost 2 years ago, and that has paid off time and time again, not only in good ratings, but also increased tips. And I also have these insulated bags, these real good insulated Arctic Zone bags, which, again, if you've been watching for some time, have heard me talk about a lot. So now that you know you should pick up your bag of ice as the last item before you head to checkout, let's talk about getting that bag to that customer with a minimal amount of melting. And that largely depends on the type of bag that you select. Your customer is going to order either a 5-pound, 7-pound, 10-pound, 20-pound bag of ice, or whatever numbers are in between. It depends on the retailer and the region of the country that you're in. And in almost every case, those bags are going to be those ice cubes, cocktail ice or whatever. Those bags melt very, very quickly. So a lot of instincts are to go for the bags of ice where everything shuffles around nicely because customers go in and pluck it out. That's not what you want to do. You want to pick the bag of ice that is solid, almost block-like. The reason being is a block of ice melts a lot slower than broken up ice. Now, these bags of ice that are all in cubes and cut up, they're just going to fall apart when you just drop it once on the concrete, or maybe even twice, and then it'll all get into its desired shape and use for the customer. But in most cases, the customer already knows that. So therefore, you need to do what you can to get it to that customer in great shape without turning into a puddle of water on their front porch. Here, I'll show you how I select a bag of ice. I check to see that the ice is a good solid bag. And it is. So it's real simple. You just open the door, you grab the bag. Is it pretty solid? Good. Put it in your buggy and go. If it's a small enough bag of ice, I'll put it inside a plastic bag. That'll help with any kind of sweating that goes on from the bag. If there's, God forbid, any kind of leakage or whatever, the plastic bag's going to minimize any kind of a mess inside your car. So you check out your order, everything else is bagged up, you walk out the door, you go to your car. The very first thing that you need to do is put that bag of ice either inside your cooler or in an insulated bag. Then load up the rest of your items. When you get to the customer's house, that bag of ice should be the last thing you take out of your cooler or insulated bag. Because a lot of times that customer will be watching. And if it's one of those 90-degree days, there's a chance that customer may be watching you and taking some notes as to how you are handling that bag of ice. That is why having coolers or insulated bags is absolutely critical, because that is the impression that you are giving to the customer. So I had a big order recently. I was doing shipped one day, and it went from the Publix store to a coffee shop, which was just like maybe a block away. And it was a lot of bags of ice, and it filled both my coolers, and it filled all three of those Arctic Zone bags that I have. And when I got to the store and I started unloading, the staff was like, wow, you really have your stuff together. You really took care of this product. And I said, yes, I did. Thank you. And he says, wow, that's awesome. We appreciate that, because we've seen other shoppers just throw it in the trunk and then bring it in here. And I just shook my head, because I know it to be true. And then I said, make sure you tell the boss. Well, apparently he did, because I got a nice thank you text from the customer a few moments later and a nice big tip. Another reason why you don't just want to throw bags of ice into the trunk of your car, because you're going to have dirt in there. You may not see it, but that bag of ice will pick it up. And nobody wants to be handling a bag of ice that has dirt on it, especially when they're using it in any kind of a commercial setting. That's just ugly, and they don't want to deal with it. And also, for transporting ice in its proper bags or coolers, think about how long it takes to get that bag of ice from the time you select it in the freezer door to the time you deliver it to the customer. You put it in your buggy, you go wait in the checkout line. That checkout line can be 5, 10, maybe even 15 minutes if you're in a busy area. Then you got to bag your order to get through the checkout. Well, that's going to take a few extra minutes. And then you get out to the car, and then you load up the car. And then by the time you get rolling, that's probably another 5 minutes, right? Now, you haven't even left the parking lot yet, and you're already looking at potentially 25 minutes time that has already gone by. Then you got to drive to the customer's house. Now, let's just assume that you are dealing a single order batch. That can take you anywhere from 5 minutes to 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes. And we know how Instacart likes to put ice and ice cream in customer C's order, which will take us even longer to get to them. And we know we can't switch up that order of delivery, even though our contract says Instacart cannot control the method of delivery, right? So now, again, you're talking about upwards of 25 minutes from the time you got it from the freezer door to the time you start leaving the parking lot. And then you're talking about another 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes if you're delivering to customer A, maybe even customer B. And God forbid you're delivering to customer C, that's going to be upwards of 45 minutes. That's not uncommon to take 45 minutes to get to customer C. So you really need to make sure that stuff is okay. And this is where you can really shine when you explain to customer C, I'm sorry, I have a couple of deliveries ahead of you. Don't worry, your ice is good in my coolers, or I have your ice in good insulated bags. They will arrive in great condition. And most often, you'll at least get a thank you from that customer. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you give it a like, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss any more of my tips for bigger tips and better ratings, and any other information that may help you become a better shopper, not only on Instacart, but maybe other platforms. So I hope you have a great day and a great week. I'm Brian, Instacart Bulldog. Until next time, go get 'em!